Preet Kaur Gill.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's my great pleasure to speak in this debate, responding to the first Labour budget in 14 years and delivered by the first female Chancellor of the Exchequer ever, and I congratulate my right honourable friend for making history today. Madam Deputy Speaker, in July the country elected Labour to fix the foundations of our country and put us on a path towards national renewal. That is what this budget does. The Chancellor is not ducking the big decisions or slapping sticking plasters on the problems, but instead fronting up to the challenges and taking long-term decisions in the interests of Britain. My constituents voted for change, and with this budget they will see a government that is on their side, on the side of working people, pulling up its sleeves to deliver the change that they voted for. I was delighted to see the Prime Minister visit Birmingham earlier this week and set out his desire to put our city at the centre of this government's plan for growth. Growing our economy is the only sustainable way to fund the public services that we all rely on. So can I thank the Chancellor for the many excellent announcements in her speech. We've heard a lot of bluster from the opposition already, playing silly games with semantics over the definition of a working person, but it couldn't be clearer whose side this government is on. And can I remind members opposite that the last Parliament was the first in modern history where living standards fell. They left an economy of high taxes, low growth, low wages, public services on the floor, a pay more, get less, doom loop of stagnation and decline. And under the Conservatives, the very basics of what one needs to live a good life, a safe and affordable place to live, money in your pocket, the security of strong public services that are there when you need them, were all ripped away. First, austerity, stripping over £1 billion from Birmingham over a decade, then their botched Brexit deal, and finally crashing the economy under Liz Truss. A Tory record that left us with slow economic growth. Nearly 8 million people stuck on NHS waiting lists, a housing crisis with Birmingham having 24,000 people on its housing register, crumbling schools and hospitals, stagnant wages, rising living costs, limited job growth with young people and graduates facing fewer employment opportunities for jobs of the future. Worse still, under the last government, people lost faith in the fundamental promise of this country that the next generation should do better than the last. They lost trust that politicians were able to take tough decisions for the long term, to put country first before their own political skins. The here today, gone tomorrow culture of broken promises damaged people's faith in politics. But with this budget, we can begin the patient work of rebuilding our country because we have a Prime Minister and a Chancellor who understand that we were elected to serve. And finally, the people of our great country have a government prepared to take the tough decisions and get on with the job of cleaning up the mess left by the party opposite. We will invest in our NHS after 14 years of decline. We will make fairer choices on tax spending on welfare, protecting working people with no increase in national insurance, the basic higher or additional rates of income tax or VAT, just as we promised, bringing in a record-breaking £63 billion of private investment into Britain at our International Investment Summit this month. I think that is a vote of confidence in this government. £500 million worth of new investment in battery storage that will create the jobs of the future in Birmingham. And today the Chancellor has confirmed a change to the fiscal rule to break the low investment, low growth cycle under the previous government. And that is a decision to secure Britain's long-term future. It will put muscle behind the government's industrial strategy so we can invest in the industries of the future in partnership with the private sector and create the revenues to fund the public services that our constituents expect and deserve. The question has always been invest or decline. The benches opposite can choose decline because we choose investment. The truth is that since 2010, the average person in the West Midlands is £4,320 poorer than if the economy had grown at the same rate as it did with the last Labour government. That is why I heartily welcome the Chancellor's decision to boost the national minimum wage. That is £1,400 boost to the full-time equivalent pay for over 45,000 people in Birmingham alone. The University Hospital Birmingham in my constituency is the largest hospital trust in the country. So I want to thank the Chancellor for announcing funding to support the delivery of 2 million extra NHS operations, scans and appointments a year to cut waiting lists across England. I can't describe how much this means for people in my constituency, not just the many NHS staff whose morale has been ground into a fine dust over the last 14 years. I have constituents who have died waiting for treatment, and I know a case of one child who lost her sight waiting for an appointment. A healthy economy depends on the health of the country, and it's undoubtedly part of why we reached nearly 3 million working-age people out of work, long-term sick, a British record under the last government. And that's why I'm pleased to also see the announcement of £240 million for local services to help people back into work, Skills England to map the jobs that are needed and the pathways to opportunities, 30 million into primary school breakfast clubs, which will help children get a nutritious start to their day and take the pressure off parents who want to get out to work, and the 1.8 billion confirmed to support the expansion of government-funded childcare. That is extremely good news for hundreds of young families in my constituency, especially after more than half of our children's centres in Birmingham were closed under the Tories. Families will be far better off with Labour. Now, I appreciate the Chancellor has had to make some extremely tough choices in this budget to get the public finances back in order. And the 22 billion black hole is a tip of the iceberg after the last 14 years, but it is no less appalling. The OBR has revealed today an absolutely shocking litany of mismanagement and failure, and spending the reserves 3 times over, wasting money on hundreds of millions on the Rwanda gimmick, billions on asylum hotels, propping up failing train companies, all of it unfunding spending commitments and undisclosed before the election. So can the benches opposite please save us some of the Forks' outrage about tax? They raised the tax burden to its highest level since the Second World War. They knew full well that public services have to be paid for. And when they hid the £22 billion black hole from the public, how do they expect to pay for that? They should have some shame, frankly. This government is fixing their mess and protecting working people's payslips as they do it. And our announcements today will make a difference, investing billions to get Britain building, making business rates fairer to protect our high streets, giving certainty to business on tax going forward, supporting frontline policing levels, funding for local government, £1 billion for SEND provision, protecting the pension triple lock, and money for potholes. And I could really go on. Some things, of course, will take time, but these decisions are why we can have confidence that the Britain we are building will be built on something solid, not sand. With this budget, this government has returned stability to our economy. It's reinforced the role of the OBR, and it's making sure that we can never, ever again have a repeat of the reckless mini-budget that sent mortgages through the roof. We are backing business by releasing investment in sectors with potential to grow, rail and road, green technology, green hydrogen, gigafactories, and we are investing in our public services, our NHS, our early years and affordable housing to ensure that we are ready to face the challenges of the next decade in an increasingly uncertain world. This is a budget to deliver on the promise of change, a budget that will fix the foundations of our economy, invest in our future, get the NHS back on its feet and rebuild Britain. Thank you.
I call George Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a great pleasure to follow the Honourable Lady for Birmingham, Edgbaston.